Hello everyone and welcome to an ESO build video. Today we are going to be covering my Warden Tank build, now being updated for the Elsweyr patch. So, one thing I'd like to say, we are actually going to be doing this build video a little different than I have in the past. Instead of just detailing one build, I'm going to be showing you three. The setup I plan to use for veteran trials, the setup I use for dungeons, and a very powerful beginner setup that I actually use to clear the hard modes of both Fang Lair and Moonhunter Keep. The beginner setup is not so much a beginner setup in the sense that it's bad. It's a beginner setup because the gear is easy to get. So, out of the way, let's get into the video. So, we're going to start with the character sheet. And as you can see here, we're still rocking the health tank roll as per usual. We have 1800 mag recovery, really the only recovery that matters on a tank. We've got about 20k of each resource here, a little shy. Keep our stamina pool a little higher than our max magic. It's actually super helpful. You always want to do that on a tank unless you're purposely trying to block with magic. And our health is sitting just above 40k without our minor toughness. I believe it sits about 42 once it's buffed. Our physical spell resist completely unbuffed, sits just shy of 28k. It's pretty good resists. Our armor buff will take us near cap. So I don't need any set buffing that other than my base resist as general. Our block cost is pretty cheap, a little under 700. We are a stage 4 vampire, which I'll go over the vampire passives later in the guide. We are using the Atronach Mundus for that sweet magic recovery. And we are using Longfin Pasty with melon sauce, or otherwise known as tri-stat food. Gives us our really nice stat pool that you see up top there. But, alright, so this is the stat pool, by the way, for my dungeon, setup. I won't be able to show you guys the stat pool for the other ones as I don't necessarily have all the gear yet, but I will be able to show you the sets I'm using as I have them all linked in chat. So, for the gear, we're using something very similar to last patch. We are running 7 heavy. That's the first thing I want to say right now. 7 heavy, we are running 4 sturdy. Sturdy on the helm, sturdy on the shoulders, sturdy on the gloves, and sturdy on the boots, with sturdy or reinforced on the shield. But we are running 2-piece Stonekeeper. Stonekeeper is by far one of my favorite monster sets in the game. It, just to put simply, is a stupidly powerful set. You can pretty much perma-block through almost anything with this, and your healing is insane because you have so much mana coming in. To roughly translate how this set works, basically, you end up blocking attacks. As things keep on hitting you, you build up charges. You build up 6 charges, the set explodes, and gives you basically a tri-stat potion. Between the time it takes to build charges and the cooldown of the set, this can happen every 20 seconds. So, that's a lot of resources. Honestly, there's no set in the game that can keep up with the amount of resources this gives, and it's just incredible. For my body piece, I've chosen Akaviri Dragon Guard. Magic recovery, healing taken, max health, reduce the cost of your ultimates by 15%. This is pretty glorious. Now, the ult cost reduction doesn't really affect our tree ultimate very much because that's cheap, but Permafrost and Warhorns, however, it's really helpful. I like the set a lot. Although I'm actually running it more for the magic recovery than I am for the ultimate. Also important to kind of know here, you can replace this set with any other heavy set in the game. Do not worry about this if you don't want to run it. I've actually been considering even running Battalion Defender here for certain stuff. So you can experiment a little bit with the sets here. But know that you need to have a heavy on your body. You need to have heavy on the body. And the reason you need to have heavy here is because our final set is Desert Rose. I freaking love this set. It is amazing. Spell resistance, max health, max magic, and on top of that, every time you take damage, you have 15% chance to restore 2,324 max magic. This effect can occur every 4 seconds. That is stupid regen. It's nearly 1,200 mana recovery when it's proccing off cooldown. It's incredible. For the traits, by the way, I just want to go over the traits real quick of the gear. As I said, infused on the big pieces, sturdy on the small. I also sturdy on the helmet. We are running 1 arcane and 2 healthy here. Now, the reason we are running 1 arcane is because if you look at my bars there, my back bar, though you probably won't be able to see it here, actually has higher mana than my front bar. So, on my back bar, if I take a shard or an orb, I restore max magic. If I am on my front bar, I restore stamina. It's just a little trick I like to have. If you don't personally like that and would prefer to only restore stamina with this setup, just replace this with a healthy or a harmony trait. You don't need the arcane here if you don't like that. We are running all magic recovery on the jewelry. We are running absorb stamina on the front bar with a decisive trait. You can also run absorb stamina poisons here. I just didn't have any on hand to show you, so this is what I got. And on the back bar, we are running an infused crusher enchant. This is unfortunately kind of how you have to run this nowadays with the crusher on the back bar. There's no other way to get a full powered one. And it's really actually kind of worth it. So before I get into skills though, I'm going to go over the other setups as they all use the same skill bar layouts. So for trials, I would still keep Stonekeeper. I'm still going to keep Stonekeeper. You will be replacing Akaviri Dragon Guard with, I honestly don't even know how to, Yolnakrin's Perfected. It's really good. It's an amazing set. It's max health, minor Aegis, max stam, max health. When you taunt an enemy, you give yourself and 11 members in your group minor courage for 15 seconds. This effect can occur every 8 seconds, so you can keep this up permanently on a main tank. It's amazing. Now, you also don't need the Perfected if you don't want to. You can just farm normal Sunspire if you so desire this set. You don't need the Perfected. All the Perfected does is give you the extra max health. That's all it does. Now, I have the means to farm this, but I don't have the full set yet, which is why I can't show you the equipped stats. But I will be farming this over the next few weeks in order to get this for myself. If you do not have Elsweyr or you do not have the means to farm Sunspire, no worries. You can easily replace this with either Dragon Guard, or if you're the off tank, you can replace it with Eben. You know, there's a lot of options here. Also, if you're the main tank and you don't want to use Dragon Guard or Eben, you could always use Turog's Pact here as well. So this set is easily replaceable, but this is what I will be running for this patch. My second set, unfortunately, I have succumbed to the trial meta. I have succumbed to the trial meta for my buddies. During vet trials, on my jewelry and weapons, I run Alkosh. Now, it gives nothing to the tank. I gotta say that now. This gives nothing to the tank. But the group damage buff is just too good to let go in vet trials. It really is. In normal trials or in dungeons, I would not run this. It's not worth it. But inside vet trials, like I said, it's really well worth it. Also, the only difference with Alkosh is I 100% run one Harmony and do intend to change more jewelry to Harmony with my Alkosh. As of right now, I don't have the one Harmony trait, but... By the way, all the traits and enchants remain the same on the gear. Just want to say that now I'm going through these sets, but... Yeah, so, Dungeon set, Stonekeeper, Dragon Guard, Rose. For the Trial set, we will be running Stonekeeper, Roar of Alkosh, and Perfected Yolnakrin's. God, that is a hard set to pronounce. Alright, and for the beginner setup. Now, the beginner setup is actually one of my favorites. I, again, don't have all the gear on hand to equip it right now for you, but I can show you the sets. So, because Stonekeeper is such a pain in the rear end to get a hold of, you will instead be running Malubeth the Scourge Harvester. This set is amazing for tanks, especially when you're starting out. Max health, great for health tank. And when you take damage, you have a 6% chance to create a beam that steals over 6,000 health over 4 seconds from the attacker. While the beam holds, you gain major vitality, increasing your healing speed by 30%. That is ridiculous. I can't even explain how much 30% healing is. It's freaking amazing. This can literally, when it's proccing off cooldown, which only really happens during big ad waves, is 4 seconds up, 2 seconds down, 4 seconds up. You get the point. More likely, it's going to end up closer being 4 seconds up and 4 to 6 seconds down and then back up again. But whenever you're using the set and it procs, you'll see a blue beam between you and the person who attacked you. When that's up, know that's when you should really go ham on your healing, because that's when you're going to benefit most from it. Just keep an eye on it. It's pretty easy to see. For the body set, I have chosen one of 2 sets for you, and that was Eben. Is one of my body sets I would run. Eben is amazing. So, super easy to farm. Comes from a base game dungeon, Crypt of Hearts. You can farm it on normal. Gives max health, healing taken, and more max health for you and the entire group. So I would either run Eben, or if you would like to run an extra set, I don't believe... Do I have it linked here? I do. Plague Doctor. Again, classic for the health tank role. It's max health, healing taken, and a whole bunch of health for you. Really, really good set here. So it's just helpful for beginners to use. Another good option would be Battalion Defender. I know this is a bow, but this is the only thing I had to link to you guys. Health, stamina, healing done. After successfully blocking, heal yourself or a group member for over 2,000. This effect can occur once every second. So, just a quick refresher here. Monster set is Malubeth. Your body set will be either Ebon, Plague Doctor, or Battalion Defender. Dealer's choice. They're all good. You can put them, they're all easy to get, and they go on your body. Now, you do need to get note when you're doing these body sets. Unfortunately for the setup, my other set I've chosen for this is, let me find it here actually, Turog's Pact. So, you might want to get the jewelry from the body sets I mentioned. But then you grab Turog's Pact and literally just farm a full set. You farm 3 jewelry of one of the body sets and any other 2 pieces you can find. And then you make Turog's Pact for the rest. Now, why do I run Turog's Pact on the beginner build? Well, spell damage is worthless, but max health, spell resistance, decrease your weapon enchantment cooldown, and increase its potency by 30%. Now, some of you guys may know, some of you won't, that one-handed enchants got gutted in Wrathstone. They got gutted. So you don't really care about your one-handed enchant much. Regardless, what you do care about for beginners is you're going to take your back bar staff. You're going to make sure it's infused. So a back bar infused Turog staff and put an absorb stamina glyph on that thing. Put an absorb stamina glyph on that thing. Whenever you do that and you drop your wall of elements, every time this does damage, once every 2 seconds, you'll restore about 600 stamina. So 600 stam recovery just for dropping wall of elements while you're blocking is amazing. It's great for beginners. It allows you to roll dodge more, allows you to block more, and you don't have to watch out for heavy attacks so much. So, like I said, your second set will be Turog's Pact with an infused absorb stamina enchant on your back bar. I would also infuse a crusher on your front bar, so at least you're still kind of getting a decent crusher enchant. It'll be closer to about 1,200 physical resist rather than the 2,400 a Turog's can normally get. And then, as you get more comfortable with playing the game, and you get more comfortable looking for heavy attack opportunities, you can swap the glyphs, putting the Crusher on your Turog's infused staff, and put the Absorb Stamina on your infused sword. That will drop it down to only 300. It'll still proc every 2 seconds, but it's only down to 300 recovery now. So as you get more comfortable, swap the glyphs, but at first, when you're first starting, I really recommend keeping an Absorb Stamina on your back bar. It's amazing. So, like I said, Refresher is Malubeth, Ebon, Battalion Defender, or Plague Doctor, and then Turog's Pact for the beginner setup. It's an amazing gear combo. I absolutely love it. Now, I was unable to list the other set that's amazing to get your hands on, but if you feel like farming it, Leaching Plate is actually really, really fun on a tank. I don't have it at the moment. I only have it on another server, so I couldn't show it in this video. But Leaching Plate drops from Imperial City Prison, or Bahara's Curse. I can't pronounce that for anything, so I'm sorry if I got that wrong. But Bahara's Curse is another version of Leaching Plate, and you can actually buy this. It's an overland set. So if you don't feel like farming Leaching Plate, but would like a set that passively just heals the hell out of you, Bahara's Curse or Leaching Plate would replace your body set. Now, for some alternative monster sets for you guys, obviously Bloodspawn is a classic. I love this set. Stam recovery, when you take damage, you have a 6% chance to generate 14 ultimate and increase your physical and spell resistance by over 6,000 for 6 seconds. This effect can occur literally every 6 seconds, so it can have 100% uptime if you're lucky. Now, why don't I run this much? Well, the reason I don't run this much on my particular setup is because this. When I pop my armor buff, my resists are at cap. I'm already at capped resistances. So half the set's bonus already goes to waste for me. I will show you how I got those high resists here in a little bit, but like I said, half those sets, half of it just doesn't even work for me, so there's really no point in my case. But regardless, the alt gen is really nice, and Bloodspawn's a very easy set to get, so go for it if you like it. The other one that I would potentially use, and this is only if you're not playing a Nord and you have lower resistances than I do, Lord Warden. The one piece is nearly 3k physical and spell resistances, and when you take damage, you have 50% chance to summon a Shadow Orb for 10 seconds, increasing the spell and physical resistance of your group, anyone in the sphere that it drops, by nearly 4,000. It's actually a really, really good set. A lot of meta tanks run it. Again, the only reason I don't is because I'm already at cap resist, so this set literally does nothing for me. It's absolutely worthless with my setup. Alright, so now we are past the gear. We are completely past the gear. I am just going to refresh the traits. Sturdy on the helmet, all the small pieces. Infused on the other 2 big pieces. All mag recovery glyphs on your jewelry. Triglyphs on your big pieces. Health on your small. Absorb stamina on your front bar. Crusher on your back bar. Unless you're on the beginner setup, in which case you invert those. And yeah, that is all your setup right there. So we're going to move into the skills now. So for skills, I have chosen Pierce Armor. Classic tank skill. I think everyone knows what it does, but regardless, I'm going to go show a newer player if someone does not know. You walk up to him. You poke him with the pointy end of the stick. And now this guy for the next 15 seconds will only attack me. That's the only person he can attack. He can't aggro on anyone else. Also, for the next 12 seconds, he will have major fracture and major breach placed on him. These are your penetration debuffs. So, despite the fact that the taunt lasts 15 seconds, try to re-up this ability every 12 to keep the debuff up at all times. Very simple skill, but very good nonetheless. You cannot replace it. This is not a flex skill. However, Leaching Vines. This one is a flex skill, actually. Grow vines on yourself for the next 10 seconds that heal you every time you take damage. It's actually a pretty decent heal. It's amazing. But every time you take damage for the next 10 seconds, up to a maximum of once every 0.9 seconds, so basically every second, you heal. Also, the thing that damaged you gets minor lifesteal placed on them, which heals every single person that's damaging them. It's actually really good party support, gives a nice little hot to everyone in the group. You're also able to cast this on allies, so despite the fact I have no allies nearby to place it on, this vine can be cast on allies. They have to be standing in front of you, so if you aim it at them, that's how you cast on ally, just aim it at them. If you want the vine on you and do not want to place it on ally, simply aim away as you cast it and turn back around. That way you can force the vine to only go on you. As I said, this is a flex slot, but you must have either Leaching Vines or Lotus Blossom. I don't have the right morph right now, but you want Leaching Vines or Lotus Blossom on your bar somewhere. Doesn't matter where. Literally does not matter, but you want one of these 2 skills somewhere. I will go over in the passes why, but trust me when I say you need one of these on your bar somewhere. The next big heal we're using is Polar Wind. This is your burst heal. This is your burst heal. As you can see, it heals for 7.5k at my current health pool. It does scale off your max health, so the higher health you have, the more it heals, which is why I recommend things like Plague Doctor for newer players. And it puts a dot heal on you, which again, scales off your max health for the next 10 seconds. It's really good health. Also, as you can see, sweeps around in search of a nearby ally, healing them for the same amount that the burst heal healed you. So a really good heal. It's expensive, so be careful how much you spam it. But it's a really good heal. This is your primary burst heal. I use this all the time. And as I said, it heals a nearby ally who really needs it. It's very nice. The next skill on the bar is another flex skill, is Budding Seeds. Now, Budding Seeds, you pop this by placing on the ground. Anyone who is in that circle can activate the synergy, healing themselves for nearly 6,000 health, or they can wait it out, and in 6 seconds it will detonate, healing them. You personally can also click the ability again to detonate it early. Now, this almost heals as much for Polar Wind, but there's a reason I don't use this as my max health, as my primary heal. The reason I don't use this as my primary heal is in a pinch, this is faster to spam than this, because you have to hit this twice. So it's faster to spam Polar Wind if you need a heal in a pinch. It's the reason why I still keep this as my primary. But Budding Seeds is really nice. Again, it activates Green Harvest passives, which I'll go over later. And just in general, it's a really good heal. If you don't want it on your bar, don't worry, you can get rid of it. It's no problem. I just use it because I like it. Now, not a flex skill. I repeat, not a flex skill. You must have this on your bar. Bull Netch. Bull Netch is incredible. Now, it does give Major Sorcerer, Major Brutality. We don't care about that. What we're after is that 5,300 stamina we get over the next 27 seconds. That gives us stamina through block. So, to give a general example here, let me get rid of all this real quick. Normally, when you block, you do not restore stamina. But as you can see, thanks to the Betty, we are. We're still restoring about 200 stamina every second. That's not bad. That's really good. That's 400 stamina recovery through block. So that is why I use that. It's really, really good. You cannot afford not to have it. That being said, if you would like to experiment with blocking with magic, you can actually morph this to the other morph, Blue Betty. Why would you do this? One, if you're blocking with magic, you're going to need more mag recovery. That gives it. And it also actually gives you a free purge. If you spam Blue Betty, it will remove one negative effect from you each time you refresh it. So literally, if you're covered in bleeds, you can just spam the hell out of Blue Betty to get rid of the dot. Also, if you see that little green number coming up next to me, that is actually a heal. Due to passives, every time you cast this ability, you heal for a small amount, which is really, really nice. It's not a lot. I believe it's right. Where is it? There it is. When one of your animal companions is killed or unsummoned, you restore 1,449 health. So that counts every time you resummon this guy. Also, once every 8 seconds, you actually generate 4 ultimate for casting him. So you can refresh him as much as you like. He's completely free. It's really good to just keep refreshing this ability. Don't worry about it. Alright, for my ultimate, I have chosen Healing Thicket. You can use the other morph, doesn't matter which morph this you choose. But this is my common oh shit button. I love this thing. It's really, really cheap, and it heals for a bunch. It activates all your green balance passives just like the other green balance skills. I'll go over those. I'm sorry I keep mentioning them. It's just a really cheap, good heal. It's great. I love it. You don't need this if you don't want it. I just like it as an emergency button, you know. Pull in case of emergency. I like this skill. But it is a flex ulti if you so desire. Alright, for my back bar, we are using Ice Fortress. Now, you need to have an armor skill on your bar somewhere. With this particular setup, you have to have an armor skill. But this is not the only one in the game. So the first thing I want to go here. Minor protection comes from the skill, and any allies around you get the Ice Fortress as well. So this is a really good group support skill. But if you want to get a little crazy with it, which I haven't personally, there is a morph of this ability here called Balance. It still costs health, it restores magic when you cast it, and it gives you the armor buffs. So if you'd like to have another alternative means of magic sustain, you can run the Balance morph of this skill here. I personally always like the idea of Ice Fortress more. I think it's really risky using a skill that costs health, but a lot of other tanks I know do it, so by all means, if you'd prefer to use Balance, go for it. I like Ice Fortress. Another skill that you must keep on your bar at all times is Elemental Blockade. This is an incredible skill. So just to give you a rundown of what this does. It doesn't sound like it does a whole lot just on paper here. Slam your staff down, dealing a little bit of frost damage to enemies every second and reducing their speed by 40%. Also, it immobilizes chilled enemies. Now, frost damage can proc the chilled status effect, which happens to be minor maim. Very, very nice. So this skill procs our back bar enchant. That's one effect. Does frost damage, which gives the chill status effect, which is minor maim. That's 2 effects. Puts a snare on them for 40%. That's 3 effects. And can immobilize people. So 4 effects from one very, very easy to use skill. It's AoE. And every time I enter an ad pool, every time, I drop this right down the center. This pisses off everything it hits. Most things, when they get hit by this, despite not being taunted, will aggro on you instead of other players. So it's really good to drop this as your first skill when you come into a fight. As I said, you cannot get rid of this. This procs your back bar glyph. It's amazing. On the beginner setup, you want to keep this down at all times, specifically to keep absorbing stamina with the Absorb Stam glyph. On the later setups, you keep this down to keep your Crusher enchant proccing. Either way, you want it. You want it. It's amazing. So for my third skill, this is actually a flex one, but this is your pull. So this is Frozen Device. And what this does is you drop your little portal down. As you can see, nice little portal. It arms after a little bit. And the first thing that steps on it will be pulled right to you. So let me go throw it out this poor little bastard. It arms, and here he comes. And also, it immobilizes them at your feet when it pulls them, and puts Major Maim on them for the next 4 seconds, reducing their damage done by 30%. That's ridiculous. So, what you can do with this, also, I believe, what damage does it do? Frost damage! So it can also proc Minor Maim. It's a really good skill. But you can throw this as your pull, or if you have the extra mana to burn and don't really care, you can actually throw this in melee range, just to put Major Maim on stuff. I do it all the time. I do it to root stuff. I do it to throw Major Maim on stuff. It's really, really good. Now, important thing to note though, this has no effect on CC immune enemies, whether they're just immune because they've been recently stunned or they're a boss. It will not pull them, it will not put Major Maim on them, and it will not damage them. So the skill's completely useless in boss fights unless you're pulling something. Just keep that in mind. Our next flex slot is Inner Rage. Now, I love a ranged taunt. This is great for ads you can't pull or bosses that you can't go near to go poke. But it's a very, it's basically pierce armor but ranged, and it doesn't have the damage debuffs on there. So just a classic ranged taunt. You can walk over here. You can see the guys down there. I can taunt him from here. Very, very helpful if you're over here in a group of ad waves and you see one archer off in the back that you can't pull. This is how you grab him. Alright, let me just kill this little bugger real quick. Die. Alright. The last flex slot on my bar, and I know there's a lot of flex slots in here, but that's kind of the beauty of tanking. We are using Bone Surge. Now, this is from the Undaunted skill line. First off, when you activate this, it costs stamina, and it gives you a 30% of your max health as a damage shield. That's a pretty big shield, actually. It's actually pretty nice. But the main reason you run this skill is not because of your own, is not for your own damage shield, despite how good it is. If an ally walks up and activates this synergy, they get a damage shield that's equal to 50% of their max health and major vitality for the next 30 seconds, or for the next 6 seconds. My bad, I was about to say 30. Which increases their healing received by a ton. So, you want to activate this just passively whenever you have extra stamina to burn. Just pop this when you're on your back bar every now and again. It's really, really good. It gives good damage mitigation to you and your party. Helps buff their healing if they need it. It's just a great skill in general. Even in trials when you're activating this, because other tanks with Alkosh can take this synergy and activate their Alkosh with it. Really, really good. Or they can use the major vitality. Again, really good. So, for my back bar ultimate, now, I'm going to say now that I only use one of two ultimates here. In dungeons or in normal trials, when I don't care about the damage buff, I run Permafrost. I love this ability. It's basically Elemental Blockade on steroids. Puts the same slow. It's an area of effect around you, and I can actually proc it right now. So, as you can see, creates this AoE around me. This snares everything I go near. It gives me major protection. It gives my allies major protection. And it does damage every second. Now, when it does damage, if something takes 3 ticks of damage, it is stunned for 3 seconds as well. So that ability, like I said, it's Elemental Blockade on steroids. It does frost damage, can proc minor maim. It can stun them, it slows them, it gives everyone damage mitigation. It's a great defensive ultimate. I absolutely love it. But in vet trials or in dungeon groups where I'm sure they can push a lot of damage, you would instead use Aggressive Warhorn. Costs about the same, it's a little more. Increase the max stat, your max stam and max health. Not max health. Max magicka and max stamina by 10% for 30 seconds. And you and your allies gain major force, increasing your critical strike damage by 15% for 9 seconds. Really good for burn phases. Everyone gets higher stats, which obviously equates to more damage. So those are my 2 back bar ultimates. Now, I do want to cover a couple flex slots with you, or a couple flex skills with you. So let me scroll down here on my little list so I can see what skills I was going to recommend. Sorry, it sounds a little goofy to say that, but it is what it is. Alright, so for some alternative skills, again, I have the wrong morph here, but Deceptive Predator, it is the other morph for this. For just passively slotting it, it gives you 10% AoE mitigation. Just for passively slotting it. It's actually really good to have. Like I said, the other morph, Deceptive Predator, not Bird of Prey. You can also activate this for Major Expedition for 6 seconds, so if you need to go fast, there you go. God, my throat is starting to dry out. Another alternative skill that I'm usually very, very fond of is actually gripping shards. Usually, one of my bar layouts commonly is this. This is one of my most common bar layouts, besides the one I just showed you beforehand. And what this does, I'm just going to leave it like that. Puts this little AoE field of ice down, impaling everything to the ground right here. And it's basically Elemental Blockade. It does not proc our back bar enchant, but it does frost damage. It snares people, it immobilizes stuff, and it actually has an increased chance to apply the chilled status effect, which combos really well with Blockade of Frost, immobilizing things again. So, and also a more reliable source of minor maim. This further is the reason why I don't slot something like Heroic Slash very often. It's because I just passively generate so much minor maim, it doesn't even matter. But it's a great alternative skill if you so desire. The next one on our list is Shimmering Shield, and I actually pair these two together because they kind of share the same function. Shimmering Shield and Absorb Magic. Now, Shimmering Shield, you activate it, And it literally gives you 64,000 damage shield against projectiles. It can absorb the total from 3 different projectiles. And each time it absorbs a projectile, you gain major heroism for 6 seconds and generate 800 magic back. So this skill can actually cover half of its cost if it absorbs 3 projectiles and gives you a bunch of ultimate generation. It's amazing. It's a really, really good skill. You would use this in fights where there's a lot of magic range attack, or just a lot of ranged attacks in general present, and they hurt a lot, so you need some damage mitigation. Also, really nice trick in Cloud Rest against Zamanja. This ability completely absorbs her heavy attack. You don't have to block it. You can literally, you just activate this skill and you can completely ignore that mechanic entirely. This will absorb it 100%. Now, absorb magic's kind of like is a different version of this. Instead, it gives you a 20,000 damage shield against the next projectile cast at you, but it also gives you a heal equal to Polar Wind. Really good ability. I am going to throw this on the front part because this is the only place you can slot this. So you get a heal equal to Polar Wind. It costs very cheap. It absorbs a spell projectile, and it just for having it on the bar, you increase the amount of damage you can block by 8% and reduce the cost of blocking by 8%. So if you still desire to throw this on your bar, it's a really good skill. It makes blocking super cheap. And like I said, it gives you a stamina burst heal if there's spellcasters around. It's really nice. Another good skill is Heroic Slash. I know I said I don't run this much, but there are occasions where I really like this skill. Those occasions are specifically bosses like the Warrior in Hellraw Citadel, the Dragons in Sunspire, or similar bosses where they just hit you so hard. Yeah, so hard, and it's really hard to out heal them. I use this specifically to guarantee the minor main, because despite the fact that I have maybe I'll get minor main on them, this is guaranteed. So I use this specifically to help me negate those burn faces that they have, or those areas where I really need a big heal, or I need a lot of healing, I'm taking a lot of damage. This helps. I use this on those bosses all the time. Also, it gives you ult gen, so it's a win-win. Next up on our list is Shielded Assault. Now, there's only one place I've ever had to use this, but this is a gap closer for Sword and Board. This is your gap closer. It's actually really funny to have one on a Sword and Shield. But what you're using that for is, for the most part, Veteran Halls of Fabrication. There's a couple bosses in there where you actually need to have a gap closer. So, if you ever find yourself in situations where you need one, this is your go-to ability. It's really good. Another flex slot that I like to have on occasion is Crushing Shock. This is only slottable on your Destruction Staff. So let me just pop that on there real quick. And what this does is it's just a ranged attack. Does pitiful damage because you're a tank. But it interrupts anything that you hit. So if they're channeling far away and you need a ranged interrupt, you pop this and it stuns them. Kicks them out of it. Basically just walking up and bashing them in the face, but at range. Flex skill, you're not going to need this often, but just if you know the mechanics, you know you need it. It's a good flex slot to have. Next one up is actually a vampire skill. Now, I have not used this enough to have it leveled yet, but the morph is called Invigorating Drain. And what it does is you channel the ability. I can actually show you the channel if I walk up to this guy. Looks like this. You channel the ability, it stuns something, and it heals you for 22% of your missing health. 23%, my bad. Every second for 3 seconds. Now, that's nice. It's a good passive heal. It's very cheap for what it does. But if you take the Invigorating Drain morph, it also generates 5 ultimate every second. So, you can literally just use this as an ult-genning monstrosity. It's amazing. But it has one drawback. It has one major drawback. When you activate the skill, do not activate when you need to block. Because when you activate it, it drops your block. It drops your block, which is really obnoxious and could get you killed. So just keep that in mind, that when you cast this, don't do it when you're about to be heavy attacked. Because as you can see, if I cast it, it drops my block. But if you click your block again, it will cancel the ability. So if you need to get that block off, you know, something's coming, you need to cancel early, just block. That'll cancel your ability. Save you a lot of headache, but it's a really good skill. I just have not found the bar space for it very often. As I said, really good skill. Just keep in mind that you got to be careful when you're blocking with it. Next up on our list is Deep Thoughts. I actually used this for a long time when I didn't have a lot of CP helping my resource return. Deep Thoughts is kind of like Invigorating Drain. It's a channel. It will drop your block when you cast it, and you can block you cancel the ability. But when you activate it, you just sit here like this. While you're sitting there like that, you heal for 1,700 every second, and you restore nearly 2,000 mana and stamina every second. That's a lot of stat return. Also, thanks to passives, you have major protection while you're using it. So, really, really good skill here. It's great if you have trouble with resource sustain and you can find some openings to cast this. But, like I said, if you're blocking and you activate it, it drops your block. Be careful. Also, you can block to cancel it, so you can immediately get back on your feet if you need to. It's instant. Also, if you swap your bars, it immediately cancels it. Again, just a skill you got to pay attention to because it's a channel. Any other ones on here? Wow, I still have 2 more skills to go down. Holy. So, the next one up is Overflowing Altar. I actually use this skill a lot in Cloud Rest or any other trial. I believe Sanctum Ophidia is another one I use this in. But you drop this thing down. Puts minor lifesteal on everything in the area, which your Leaching Vines technically already does that. But, regardless, still a good skill. But more importantly, every single person can activate this skill, regenerating 72% of their max health instantly. Every single person can take the synergy. You only have to cast it once, your whole group can use it. And 20 seconds later, they can do it again if you put another one down. It's a really good skill. Again, you're not going to need this so often, but during really rough dungeons or trials, it's nice to have around. Also, it's one of the easiest ways to give minor toughness to everyone in the group, because it just passively heals everyone. Very, very good skill. And finally on my list, excuse me for 1 second. Man, my throat is killing me here. So, last up on our list, we have Efficient Purge. Now, again, VHOF is the only place I've ever really had to use this. Costs about 5,000 mana. So, it's a little expensive. A little on the expensive side. You're not going to spam it much. But, what it does is it removes 2 negative effects from yourself and everyone else in the group. And reduces any further negative effects by 50%. It's a really good skill. It's really good. You're not going to have to use it often. You're going to use this when there's so many powerful debuffs in the instance that your healers can't keep up on it themselves. That's when you're going to slot this to help them out. Also, there's an added benefit that if you take both of these passives, while you have this slotted, you actually get 10% increased magic support, or magic recovery. So, you get to buff your recovery, just for having it passively slotted, and you can use this. Oh, I'm sorry, I use this in VHOF and VAS. So, Halls of Fabrication and Asylum Sanctorum, those are the 2 places I use this. It's a really good skill, but it's very, very situational. And holy, that is it for our list of abilities. Holy crap. Alright, so we've gone through all our main abilities, we've gone through our alternates, now we're going to get into the champion points. So, keep in mind, CP is very personal. This is what works for me, but there, you might want to experiment with this, see what you like. But, as I said, this is what works for me. So, starting in the green tree, I have 37 Warlord, 37 Arcanist, 49 Tenacity, 66 Tumbling, and 81 Shadow Ward. This is my most... I've had the CP set up pretty much since I got 810. I use it in every dungeon, every trial. Always works well for me. So, yeah, like I said, you can feel free to change stuff as you like, but this is what I like. Now, for the blue tree is the simplest thing in the world for tanks. I use 100 Blessed and 100 Elfborn. You actually have 70 more points in here that you can kind of just do whatever the hell you want with. I threw them in Precise Strikes just because. If you're running something like Leaching Plate or something that does dot damage, you might want to throw it into Thaumaturge. But literally, you have 70 points to throw wherever the hell you want. Basically, prioritize Blessed and Elfborn. Do whatever you want with the rest. So for red, now this is a setup again. I have not changed this in forever. I've been doing all the vet trials on this. I've been doing all the vet dungeons on this. I don't change this unless of... Honestly, I just don't change this. But anyway, 66 Ironclad, 2 Spell Shield, 56 Thick Skinned, 43 Hardy, 43 Elemental Defender, 23 Quick Recovery, and 37 Heavy Armor Focus. Now, Heavy Armor Focus and Spell Shield, these are something I do change on occasion. They are specifically here to even out my resistances. Because I most commonly wear gear that gives me a line of spell resist, I need to use my CP to give me more physical resist to make up. If you are not running something that gives spell resistance, or you're giving something that gives physical and spell, take the points from Heavy Armor Focus, and split them evenly between spell shield and heavy armor focus. You'll end up with like 1,000 undercap or 1,500 undercap, but it'll keep your resist even. Like I said, for me, because of the setup I run, I have to run more heavy armor focus. I still don't even change this most of the time, but if you want to keep your resist even, you might have to play around with these values a little bit. But yeah, that is my champion points. I'm actually super happy with the way they are anyway. As I said, I've already gone over food, race, and whatnot, but I'm gonna give one last little pass over them real quick for you guys, just to refresh. As I said, longfin pasty melon sauce, tri-stat food. We are a stage 4 vampire. Technically, stage 3 is better, but I'm just too lazy to manage that. And we are using the Atronach Mundus Stone. Oh, and my race is Nord. So, speaking of Nord, we are actually going to move into the passives now, and I'm going to start with the race. So, with Nord, this is irrelevant, but your drinks buffs are increased by 15 minutes. Doesn't really matter for me. But you get 1,000 more max health and cold resistance and immunity to the chilled status effect. The cold stuff's kind of irrelevant for tanking, but the max health is nice. 1,500 extra max stam, and whenever you take damage, you generate 5 ultimate. This can occur every 10 seconds. Really, really good passive here. Extra stam is always welcome. And the extra ult is just nice. It's not a lot, but it's nice. It's like minor heroism. It's really small. But the real reason I pick Nord, every time, this is why I pick Nord. Increase your physical and spell resistance by nearly 4,000. This is why I don't need to run a resistance set. This is why I don't care. It's why I run 7 heavy and Nord. That gets me up to cap every time, mixed with my CP. It's amazing. If you're not running a Nord, I would highly recommend either running a monster set that gives you extra resistances, or running 2 protective on your jewelry. Two protective rings will get you within 600 resists of this, so they'll get you very close. So like I said, if you're not a Nord, 2 protective jewelry or a resistance-based monster set. If you want to keep my exact setup. You don't necessarily have to if you don't want to, but that's what I recommend. Another passive, since we're down here, is Alchemy. You don't necessarily need all these Alchemy passives, but you do need to level this to 50 so you can get 3 into medicinal use. You need this to keep your potions active longer. It's super useful. I also make my potions on this character, which is why all the other passives are here. But medicinal use is what you need. This is what keeps your potions lasting longer. It's very nice. Alliance War, I highly recommend picking up this passive here. It's very, very good. Gives you more recovery when you're slotting Efficient Purge. You don't need anything in Assault. You don't want to. Psijic, if you are using the Psijic skill line, if you're using it, you don't need this if you don't. You really actually only need Concentrated Barrier for the 5,000 damage shield it gives you. And the last passive here for major protection. This is only if you're using Deep Thoughts. Elsewise, you don't have to care about this at all. You don't need any guild passives in here. I do have a few, like Banish the Wicked's kind of nice. Besides that, you don't need any passives in here. You will put your Mage's Guild passives in, though, if you are using Balance. Just want to spit that out there. Undaunted, take all your passives. You restore extra resources whenever you activate a synergy. And the beauty of it is also, you get 2% increased stats. Just free stats. Really nice. But the synergy one's what you like. Nearly 2,000 health when you activate a synergy and 700 of each resource. Nothing can go wrong here. It's amazing. Alright, for World. Vampirism. Now, Vampirism, it's important to take Supernatural Recovery, Undeath, and Unnatural Resistances. These are actually the only 3 passives you need in here. Sorry about that, guys. And if you maintain yourself at a stage 3 vampire, that'll be your most optimal vampirism rank. Darkstalker only takes effect when you're at stage 4, and it decreases the time it takes to crouch during night and removes the crouch speed penalty. I have it just cause. You don't necessarily need this. As I said, you really just need Undeath, Unnatural Resistances, and Supernatural Recovery. By the way, Vampire is 100% worth running on this build. There's no reason not to run Vampirism on the tank. Armor. We are in 7 heavy, so you only need heavy armor. More resistances, more health recovery, regen stats when you take damage, 14% more max health, increase the max magic and stamina your heavy attacks restored by 25%, and give you 8% more healing received. It's really, really good. I like all heavy armor. If you want, you can add other armors in here. Experiment as you will. The lowest you want to go on heavy armor, though, you do not want to drop below 5, and I highly recommend not dropping below 6 pieces of heavy armor. I really like all and as I said, me personally, I run 7. I like heavy armor. For your weapon passives, you are looking at one-handed shield. Take everything. Reduces the cost of your block. Increases the amount of damage you can block. Bashing costs less and does more damage. Increase the amount of damage you can block from ranged projectiles. And increase your movement speed while blocking. All passes are super good here. Destruction Staff. Now, you actually only need this passive here. Elemental Force. Ancient Knowledge. Yeah, you really only need Ancient Knowledge and Elemental Force in here. I do take this passive too in case I accidentally kill something with my Wall of Elements. Restores a bunch of mana for me. Really, the only thing important to note with this whole entire skill line, unless if you want to block with mana, which I don't most of the time, but if you happen to want to block with mana, take Trifocus, elsewise completely avoid this. This will really screw up your mana sustain if you didn't realize you're blocking with mana with this. So like I said, do not take this passive if you only want to block with Stam. Alright, so we're out of the weapon passives. Now we get into the class, which are the fun ones. Animal Companion. As we already saw with the Betty, you restore an extra health whenever you resummon the ability. Super, super useful. Regen. Get ultimate once every 8 seconds when you cast an Animal Companion ability. Again, spam that Bull Nutch as much as you want. The bar your Bull Nutch is on, because it's your only Animal Companion ability, increase your mana and stamina recovery by 12%. Very, very nice. Advanced Species is worthless on a tank, just increases your damage done. You can skip this if you want. Green Balance. This is the mother of all passives for this class. Literally, this is what makes or breaks this class, this sustain. It's amazing. Firstly, Accelerated Growth. When you heal yourself or an ally under 40% with a Green Balance ability, gain Major Mending for 3 seconds. This is why I like having Leaching Vines or Lotus Blossom. It's a lot of passive healing that is always healing someone. It's going to clip people below 40. It's going to always clip people below 40, including yourself. Very, very nice. Gives you Major Mending a lot. This can proc it too. This can proc it. Like I said, this can proc it. It's really, really good. So, but the real reason why you need to keep a passive heal up at all times, whether one of these two. Nature's Gift. When you heal an ally with a Green Balance ability, you gain 250 mana or stamina, whichever resource pool is lower. This effect can occur once every second. Now, when it says whichever resource pool is lower, it's not talking about your max pool. It's not talking about your max pool as far as I can tell. It's picking the pool you need the most, and it's giving you that resource. So if you keep Leaching Vines up at all times, and you're low on stamina, you just gained 500 stam recovery. Again, same thing with Lotus Blossom. If you're passively healing allies, you could have potentially just gained 500 stam recovery. It's ridiculous. It's an amazing passive. This mixed with Betty is why I can pretty much perma-block on this build, besides Stonekeeper, of course. Seriously, this passive's overpowered. It's amazing. Next one down here just increases your healing done. Another reason why I run so many Green Balance skills on my front bar, because that's where all my main heals are. 6% more healing done is no joke. The last one, whenever you heal yourself or an ally, note this is the only passive in here that does not care what healing skill you use. You can use any skill from any tree with this. But it gives you or your allies you heal minor toughness for the next 20 seconds, which increases your max health by 10%. So, look at that. Almost 43.5k health now. Even though I had 40 at first. It's really, really good passive to have, and you just passively buff the shit out of everyone's health in the group. So again, another reason why... This is actually why I run this skill in Trials. Because you can blanket a group in this. It's very, very easy just to pop this on the group every so often. And it basically, like, if someone's wearing Eben on top of this, everyone in the group's gonna have, like, 20k health thanks to you. Really, really nice. Alright, last passes. Winter's Embrace. Increases your chance of applying the chilled status effect with Winter's Embrace abilities. So, Frozen Device, Gripping Shards, and Permafrost. More chilled means more minor maim, means less reason to run Heroic Slash. Frozen Armor, more resistances. On your front bar, you don't notice this much. But on your back bar, where you're running 1, 2, with Permafrost. Normally, my setup would be this. So normally, you're running 3 to 4 abilities on the back bar. So it's either 1,500 or 2,000 extra resist just for having this passive. It scales with the amount you have. Reduce the effectiveness of snares applied to you by 15%. This is an okay passive. I honestly don't even notice it, to be completely fair with you. I've never noticed this passive. I don't know if it affects PvE or not. I assume it does. And the last passive is really not for you as a tank. Increases your magic and frost damage by another 6%. It's good on a damage dealer. Doesn't matter for you on a tank. Really just doesn't matter. But regardless, that's every passive that's relevant to you or not relevant to you in the entire game. So the last things I want to go over with you. One, I used Tri-Stat Potions. I think I forgot to mention that earlier. But we are using Tri-Stat Potions. Restores max health, max dam, max magic. Every tank uses this. It's a really, really, really good potion. It's amazing. And the last thing I'm going to go over with you guys is alternative race options. You can really use whatever race you want in the game. It doesn't really matter all that much. I just use Nord because of the rugged passive. Though if I was to pick an alternative race, it would be Argonians or Imperials because they provide extra resource return. They make sustaining easier. It's really nice. They also get max health and some extra healing. That being said, if you don't care about meta, tank, literally the role of tank does not care what meta is, so just have fun with it. The only thing, like I said, to note is if you're not a Nord, you need 2 protective on your rings and jewelry to get my exact same setup. Or you need to run a resist-based monster set. But anyways, guys, this covers my entire tank build. It covers everything I'll be running this patch, from dungeons to trials to the beginner setup. Gives you guys every skill, every passive. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you found this helpful. And I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.